Two men accused of selling narcotic substance-laced muffins to school pupils appeared in the Soshanguve Magistrate's Court on Friday. The matter was postponed to the 29th of September to allow for additional charges and a possible formal bail application. For more on this now, we're joined by two guests. We've got the MPAs, Lumka Mahanjana, who joins us virtually from Pretoria, and in studio we have the Gauteng education spokesperson, Steve Mabona. Thank you so much for your time, both of you, this morning, on a story that I think has really crossed the country in terms of the kind of thing that parents and caregivers fear the most when they send their young children out to school every day. Lumka, let's start with you. Just from the MPA side, these two men, thankfully swiftly arrested. Their story has been postponed until the 29th of September. From your side, there's talk of additional charges. What more details can you give us on this case specifically?
Okay, basically you can see that the men are charged with 9 counts of attempted murder, and we all know that there are more children that bought these muffins. However, at this stage, only 9 statements of children that were affected by this. So what basically means is that more statements from the children are going to be attained. Therefore, more counts of attempted murder will be added.
How difficult does a story of this nature make your job? Because you're dealing with minors. I mean, I'm told that one of the youngest of the 90 kids was in grade R. Steve just confirmed with me before we started chatting. How difficult does it make it for your team, Lumka, in putting this case together?
It is extremely difficult when dealing with children. The youngest, though the statement of the youngest one has not been obtained, I'm told is 6 years old. So now you can imagine trying to obtain a statement from a child as young as that, and you want the child to tell you exactly what happened, who, and stuff like that. But it's difficult, but the police are doing everything they can to make sure that they attain the statements from those children.
Allow me to bring Gauteng education spokesperson Steve Mabona in here. Now, Steve, we speak to each other quite often because of the importance of your portfolio. Just tell me how your team received this news. Firstly, it involving dagga being sold to minors, and then 90 children being hospitalized and needing treatment for it. It must have sent some shockwaves through your department.
Definitely. It was a challenging week for us as a department. Since Wednesday, we've been, attending the school very closely. Our team has been at the school. At some point, after discharging the learners from hospital, the following day, the attendance was very low. And those that came, they were complaining about them being tired. So we felt that they need to be released, go back home. So we are hopeful that they will be healing because they are at home, and probably next week, when we start with the process of curriculum, they will be back. We have been supporting all of them, and we've been interacting with the parents, and we just want to call upon the parents to work with us. SGB must take responsibility of the school environment. They are responsible for governance. So we can't allow some members of the community, interact with learners before they arrive at our schools. Then they sell them things that are, untoward, drug peddling, which is uncalled for. So the community involvement, it will come a long way in making sure that we create safe space. The environment must be safe at all times, because as a department, we cannot go in the community. So the community must work with us and assist us so that we then support the SGB accordingly.
Lumka, Steve talking there about them trying to approach this from a community point of view. How important is that in piecing this case together? You spoke about how difficult it is to try and get those official statements from really young people, but you're dealing with a school community here that's really shocked that their young people have been put in a situation of risk like this.
Yes, it is sad. It is sad that the school kids had to be exposed to such an environment. Hence, now we are calling on committee members and people who might know such acts happening in the community to come forward and report so that things don't get to this level where now children fall victims of such.
And I suppose it's important for the MPA to be seen to be getting this right, so the community sees that you are there for them, especially in a story as shocking as this one.
Yes, as such, as the NPA, we have a unit that deals with community prosecution, where we try and tackle such things at the ground level before they become bigger problems for the community. That is why we have like outreach programs and stuff like that to educate communities about such things and encouraging communities to come forward, because this is truly a tragedy. I mean, the number of children that were involved in this is unheard of. Especially taking into account the age.
It's really important to hear about work like a division called the community prosecution, because often when we speak to the MPA, we're talking to you about really high-profile court cases and the like. But it's at community level that you can really start educating people about how important this arm of the law is.
Yes, we do. We do that through outreach programs. For example, yesterday we had another one. So we try by all means, as the NPA, to educate the communities about dangers of using substance abuse, issues of gender-based violence, issues of femicide, things that we see every day in court. We really try and come down to the community and educate them on how best they can refrain from being perpetrators of such crimes.
Steve, what are you hearing from this specific school community, Pula Madibogo? You spoke about how you've stressed it's important for the school and that department that it falls under to take control of the space around the school. But I suppose it's also a teaching moment for the community and their children to learn about the letter of the law and how it can be put in practice and how it can be used to keep our most vulnerable safe.
Indeed, that's why we put an emphasis on partnership. We'll always emphasize partnership from NGOs, from community members, from parents. If we work together, we'll, win, the battle. But if we are disjointed and they work in silos, we'll never win this. So we need to work together. Hence, in the community, they know who does what when. They need to volunteer that information to the law enforcers. Like, for instance, we know that the two were not working, on their own. There might be more that are involved in this. So the community must impart that information to say, we heard, or we know that there's others that are involved, so that then police can concretize their case, as they continue with their investigation.
And this is the thing that we hear in our battle against crime day in and day out, that the perpetrators of these various crimes, no matter what you're dealing with, are our brothers and our sisters, our aunties and our uncles, and are known to the community. But because there's this deficit of trust between our communities and the various arms of the law, and that's why the program that Lumka just spoke about is so important. This is why we're not getting in front of this battle. But that education and that relationship should be and can be developed at school level. Do you think that's too much, however, for the education department to take on as well?
No, not really. I mean, 2 weeks back, we launched a school safety program where we're going to put an emphasis on making sure that our environment is safe at all times. Working with all the partners that came forward. That we had a problem of suicides in our schools. We have a problem of burglaries that are happening in some of the schools. Just everyday violence in schools? We have over 245 schools that we've classified that they are in the high, violent areas where crime is perpetrated. So we will work with them from where we are sitting as a department, make sure that we empower the schools, but then the community must also play their role. I mean, giving them more patrollers, giving them the CCTV cameras that will see, or will be in a position to go to the footage and check on what happened when, giving them officials that will be looking specifically on prevention on drug peddling, consumption, and dealing in our schools. So that's what we'll be doing, and making sure that social workers are available for traumatic incidences that where you need the psycho support, that must be taken to our schools. So we will emphasize on partnership, but at a certain extent, we will play our role, but the community must also play their role.
Lumka, I see you've been nodding in approval with a lot of what Stephen has been saying over the last few answers there. And I suppose that you will support that by saying that it's important for the various arms that are helping society or trying to help society not to work in silos, whether it's the Education Department, Department of Social Development, whether it's the SAPS and indeed still the MPA. It's important to have that united front in trying to just get to the source of so many of the social ills that you are all trying to get rid of.
Absolutely, because when we do these outreach programs, as the NPA, we don't do them alone. We partner with various stakeholders, which are the SAPS, which are the social workers, and all departments that are involved. Also, we do work with the Department of Education, because sometimes we visit schools where we go down and educate the learners about such things.
Steve, is there more that we can share about this specific case involving the Pula Madiboho primary school? Because obviously people are looking for as many details as possible so that they can try and spot something similar potentially happening in their school communities. Like you said, that these two suspects, you understand, were probably not working alone. And it's probably known to the community that some of the kids knew what they were buying, and of course the younger ones didn't know what they were buying. What do we know about this specific incident that we are now trying to come to grips with?
No, it's a primary school. They didn't know what they were buying because they were tempted. I mean, when we say you are selling a product, you buy one, you get one free. I mean, these are children.
But what would these suspects have achieved?
It's muffins.
What would they have achieved by? Did they just want to sell as many muffins as possible, or was there some kind of evil direction here that they were trying to get these kids ill or hooked or whatever the case may be?
We are hopeful that probably the investigation will assist us because police or the law enforcement will then interact with them, get more details on the intent. What is it that they were trying to do? Because now they're charged with attempted murder.
Yeah.
And we are actually indebted to the law enforcement agencies to charge them with attempted murder. Because at some point, some of those children were vomiting, badly. They
could have died.
They could have died. Some were coughing blood. Oh. So attempted murder is proper. Hence, we are saying the law enforcement must work with us and make sure that they interact with the school. They must get more of those statements. Their statements must be 90.
Sure.
It can't be that we are sitting here with 9 attempted murder. It must sit with 90 so that they can see that this thing is serious.
Well, Lumka, there you have it. Not a small job for your team, but just in closing, just bring us up to speed again, just with what the next steps are for your team as they approach a very big story that's really captured the imagination of so many families and communities across the country.
So basically, the next step is for the investigation team to obtain the further statements from the children that they were unable to at the time, and for the matter then to appear on the 29th, and obviously for the charges to be added and a possible bail application.
Okay, we're going to say goodbye to Lumka Mahanjana from the MPA, who joins us from Pretoria. We thank her for her time and really just her insight into how seriously the MPA is taking this case. And let's spend our final moments now with the Gauteng Education spokesperson, Steve Mabona. Obviously, that is a very, very serious matter that people will be following, because anybody with a child especially, or just with an interest in having safe spaces in their society, will think that if you're not safe at school, then where are you safe? And I think that's sort of the major thing. But Steve, just in final question to you, you obviously are dealing with a number of various issues on any given day, but at least you had some good news this week in that you and your team, the MEC, launched the Kanya Lesedi Sports School of Specialization in Ratanda in Heidelberg this week. We've spoken before about this very serious and determined project you have to open as many of these schools of specialization as possible. Tell us about this latest one.
Definitely. Now this is the future.
Yeah.
This is the future. It's something that we are proud of. And we will continue to launch these schools of specialization. This one is specializing in sports. Learners at that level, they will give you an understanding on an athlete. When you participate in sport, what is it that you need to do in terms of your diet, in terms of your training, how do you train, physicians, how do you make sure that you train well and make sure that you achieve in sports. And some of them, there's international competitions that they've already participated in. So we're nurturing sportsmen and women in that school. But then not only focusing on sports, but focusing on education, because we're in the classroom as well. Give them skills on, on robotics, skill them on tourism, on all elements that we think they will then assist them when they leave the school environment, because they are athletes.
Yeah, and here's the question that I have in terms of the sports specialization school. Obviously, not everybody will end up being able to make a living off sports as an actual athlete, either on the sports field or on the athletics track. My colleague Morena Motipi is listening to this conversation now, because we know how difficult it is to launch that kind of long-standing career. But there are lots of other careers that you can have in the world of sports, like you said, in hospitality, or if you want to become a physio, or you want to become an agent, if you're interested in the business of sports. Are those all of the kinds of careers that you're hoping can stem from an education at a specialization school like this? Definitely.
We also do entrepreneurship. So it doesn't mean that those that would not want to professionally utilize what they would have attained at the school, that they are doomed. So it means one can focus on being a manager. You can manage players, you can drift into all the disciplines that are in the sporting field. Not all of us will play, but if you know those that are playing, what does it entail, then you are empowered. I mean, one can leave from there and become a coach. Swimming as well is involved, and we need Olympians. Yeah, we do. And also, I mean, we know how important sports is to our society. We see it every year. We're seeing it right now with the Springboks taking part in the World Cup in France. It's something that our society revels in, and it's one time that we're all sort of singing from the same hymn sheet. What's next in this program of specialization schools, Steve? On Tuesday, we are launching another one. Sure. In the City Bank. We are very much busy. We are launching another one. And those are the things that we really are happy to do. Because sometimes when you watch in the media, you think that this country, there's nothing that is happening that is positive. So we are always proud to bring positivity to a certain extent. People can see that it's not a standstill, like as we check in the media space. So it's another school of commerce, where we are training entrepreneurs in different fields. So we are launching it on Tuesday. So we will be launching up until next year. We need to launch 35 of them by the time we end this administration, then probably the next administration. And if parents are watching right now and they want to find out more, where can they get more information if they feel like their kid could qualify for one of these specialization schools? There we do assessments, we do tests. It's not everyone who can access the school, but they can, our call center is 0800 000 789, 0800 000 789. Yeah. So they can give them information there. But during the application process, because when we apply, we use the online admissions. when you apply there for a school of specialization, it will prompt you on what to do so that you take the child for necessary assessment. Then once you pass there, then you are admitted at the school of specialization.
Okay, thank you for that insight. As always, Steve Mabona, the Gauteng education spokesperson, live with us here in the studio. We thank him for his time, as always.